A tense standoff unfolds under gray skies in the South China Sea. Philippine Coast Guard vessels, painted white and blue, face off against gleaming Chinese warships near the disputed Scarborough Shoal. Radar screens flash and radios crackle. The world watches as the confrontation teeters on the edge of disaster. The situation is tense and unpredictable. Each side waits for the other to make a move. Crew members aboard the ships stare out at the churning sea, knowing that any wrong step could trigger a crisis. International cameras zoom in, capturing the drama as it unfolds in real time. This is not just a distant border dispute. It's a test for international law, for alliances, and for the future of Asia's most contested waters. The stakes are high. One false maneuver could spark something much bigger. As the world tunes in, the question hangs in the salty air. Is another major incident about to erupt in the South China Sea? The waters around Scarborough Shoal have never been busier. China has sent Coast Guard cutters and, for the first time, Navy destroyers into the disputed area. Their hulls slice through the waves, bristling with radar and weaponry. The message is clear. China is here to stay. Not to be outdone, the Philippines has deployed its own Coast Guard ships. Some are small and fast, others are larger and more imposing. Manila's patrols are loud and visible, often waving the national flag high above the deck. The Filipino crews make radio calls, demanding respect for their country's rights. Every day, these ships shadow each other. Sometimes, they come within meters of colliding. Horns blare. Searchlights sweep the water at night. Helicopters from both sides circle above, filming every move for evidence and deterrence. This constant show of force has everyone on edge. One miscalculation, one sudden movement, and the calm could shatter in an instant. At the heart of one of Asia's most heated maritime disputes lies a triangle of rocks and reefs, Scarborough Shoal. This seemingly remote outcrop in the South China Sea has become a powerful symbol of national pride, sovereignty, and international law. The Philippines claims Scarborough Shoal as its own, pointing out that it sits just 120 nautical miles from their coast, well within what they consider their maritime backyard. According to international law, specifically the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, the Philippines is entitled to a 200-mile exclusive economic zone, which clearly includes Scarborough Shoal. This legal framework is recognized by much of the world and forms the backbone of the Philippines' argument. In 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague sided with the Philippines, ruling that China's claims had no legal foundation under international law. The tribunal specifically rejected China's sweeping 9-line claim, which covers almost the entire South China Sea and overlaps with the exclusive economic zones of several countries. Yet, China refused to accept the ruling, insisting that Scarborough Shoal is part of its historic waters. Chinese officials point to centuries-old maps and stories as evidence, arguing that their fishermen have used these waters for generations. The legal arguments are deeply complicated, involving not just modern treaties but also interpretations of history, sovereignty, and national identity. For the Philippines, the dispute is about upholding the rule of law, protecting their fishermen's livelihoods, and asserting their rights over vital fishing grounds that have sustained communities for generations. For China, it's about defending what they see as their historical territory and reinforcing national pride, with the government rallying public support around the issue. Both sides remain steadfast, each insisting that international law and justice are on their side, and neither willing to compromise or back down. The result is a tense standoff at sea, with Coast Guard vessels from both nations regularly facing off in these contested waters, sometimes just meters apart. This ongoing legal and political tug-of-war fuels rising tensions, turning what might seem like a local quarrel into a global test of international rules, diplomacy, and the balance of power in the region. The latest crisis began when Chinese vessels blocked a Philippine ship trying to supply its fishermen near the shoal. What started as a simple resupply mission quickly turned dangerous. Chinese Coast Guard boats sped in, forming a line and refusing to let the Filipinos pass. The standoff lasted for hours. On the Philippine side, sailors radioed for backup and filmed the incident. Chinese ships played loudspeakers, warning the Filipinos to leave. The air was thick with tension, each side accusing the other of provocation. Neither side wanted to retreat. The Filipinos argued they were in their own waters, helping their own people. The Chinese said the area belonged to them and warned of consequences. The world watched live feeds and cell phone videos, anxious for what might come next. Slowly the ships drifted apart, but the damage was done. trust was broken, and the stage was set for further confrontations. The standoff took a dangerous turn days later, escalating tensions that had been simmering beneath the surface for weeks. In a shocking moment caught on video, a Chinese Coast Guard cutter suddenly accelerated toward a much smaller Philippine supply boat, closing the gap between the two vessels with alarming speed. The vessels collided with a deafening crunch, sending shards of metal and debris flying into the air. The force of the impact was so strong that it echoed across the water, leaving both crews stunned. The Philippine ship was left visibly damaged, its hull dented and paint scraped away. The crew, though shaken and visibly rattled by the ordeal, managed to remain safe and avoided serious injury. But that was not the end of the chaos. The situation at sea grew even more unpredictable as tensions continued to rise. In the confusion, a Chinese Navy destroyer, attempting to maneuver in the crowded waters, scraped against its own Coast Guard vessel, causing further alarm among those watching. This second collision happened just meters away from the Philippine ships, highlighting how dangerously close all the vessels were operating in these contested waters. Analysts quickly pointed out that the involvement of a heavily armed warship was a troubling sign. This was no longer just a game of cat and mouse between coast guards, it was a clear escalation, raising fears of a wider conflict. The dramatic collision and its aftermath made international headlines, sparking concern and debate in capitals around the world. The Philippine government responded by releasing videos and photos showing the extent of the damage to their supply boat, hoping to rally international support and draw attention to their plight. Meanwhile, China accused the Philippines of staging the encounter, claiming it was a deliberate provocation meant to embarrass Beijing on the world stage. The sea, once a place of routine patrols and quiet tension, was now the scene of chaos, confusion, and finger-pointing between rival crews. For the sailors on board, it was a terrifying and unforgettable close call, a reminder of how quickly things can spiral out of control at sea. For the world, it was a wake-up call. The incident underscored just how volatile the South China Sea has become, and how easily a single miscalculation could trigger a much larger crisis. The Philippines moved fast to control the narrative. Officials held press conferences, showing videos and offering medical help to injured Chinese crew, if needed. They called for calm, but insisted they were only protecting their territory and their people. China's response was swift and stern. Officials blamed the Philippines for the collision, accusing Manila of using humanitarian missions as cover for intrusion. Beijing warned that further incidents would have serious consequences, and repeated that the area was part of China. Ordinary people in both countries watched the drama unfold on their phones and TVs. Social media buzzed with angry comments, patriotic songs, and calls for restraint. Some Filipino fishermen said they were afraid to return to sea. In China, state media showed images of tough Coast Guard crews standing firm. With both governments digging in, it became clear that the dispute was now about more than rocks in the sea. It was about national pride and who would blink first. Behind the scenes, the Philippines is building a case. Coast Guard officers, Navy sailors, and even fishermen are told to record everything. Videos, photos, logbooks. Each incident is documented and cataloged, ready to be presented to international courts or allies. Manila says, this evidence proves they are acting within the law and being harassed in their own waters. The 2016 Hague ruling is often quoted in official statements and diplomatic notes. Philippine diplomats send reports to embassies in Washington, Tokyo, and Brussels seeking support. China, meanwhile, dismisses these efforts as lawfare, using legal tactics as weapons. Beijing says the real solution is direct talks, not outside courts. But the Philippines believes international pressure is their best hope for help. It's a battle fought not just with ships, but with paperwork, video, and the court of world opinion. With tensions rising, the United States has taken a more active role. American warships have sailed through the area, sometimes accompanied by Philippine vessels. U.S. officials have made it clear, under the Mutual Defense Treaty, an attack on Philippine forces could trigger a U.S. response. Joint patrols by U.S. and Philippine navies are now more common. American planes fly overhead, watching and recording every move. Washington has also given Manila more access to bases and military training, signaling that the Philippines is not alone. This new cooperation has changed the balance. China must now consider the risk of a bigger conflict if things escalate. Other countries like Japan and Australia have also voiced support for the Philippines, calling for respect for international law. The presence of the U.S. is a warning. Any miscalculation could turn a local standoff into a regional crisis. Despite the ever-present danger and rising tensions, both sides continue to insist that they want peace. The standoff is tense, but neither China nor the Philippines openly seeks war. Philippine officials repeatedly emphasize the importance of dialogue, negotiation, and respect for international law. They call for calm and urge all parties to avoid escalation, hoping that diplomacy can still prevail. Chinese leaders echo similar sentiments, saying they prefer peaceful talks. However, they also make it clear that they will defend their territorial claims at all costs, and will not back down if challenged. Around the world, people watch anxiously as the situation unfolds. The international community holds its breath, hoping that cooler heads will ultimately prevail. Yet, the risks of miscalculation remain ever present. With so many ships from different countries crowded into a small, disputed area, the possibility of another collision or dangerous encounter is always just moments away. A single spark, whether it's an accident, a misunderstanding, or a sudden order, could ignite a conflict that no one truly wants. The margin for error is razor thin. Other countries are watching closely, aware that the outcome here could set a precedent for the entire region. Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia have their own disputes with China over territory and resources in these waters. They are watching Scarborough Shoal with growing concern. These nations fear that if China is allowed to act aggressively in Scarborough Shoal without consequences, they could soon face similar challenges to their own sovereignty. The South China Sea remains a dangerous flashpoint, a place where the line between peace and war is thin and fragile, and where the future of the region hangs in the balance. For now, the ships remain on high alert, their crews tense and watchful. The uncertainty of what comes next weighs heavily on everyone involved. The world can only hope that leaders will choose words over weapons, and that Scarborough Shoal will not become the spark that sets the entire region on fire. The future is unwritten, but hope for peace endures.